Week 18 is in the books, and the Kansas City Chiefs, as they know, had secured the number one seed. Things look pretty similar to the way they did before Week 18, and honestly before Week 17 as well. We're going to get to the details, where it's going, what are these playoff matchups, and what should the Chiefs expect, as well as a couple of looks at who might be changing contracts for the Kansas City Chiefs coming up later. This is Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Well, it's a wrap. It is formerly known as Black Monday. We'll see what happens with coaching changes today. But as we sit here, the NFL season has come to a regular season conclusion. The Chiefs are at the top of it for the AFC. You already knew that. We're going to talk about the details today. We're brought to you by BetterHelp. That is not a crisis line, not self-help, but professional therapy done online. It can help everyone. There's a special offer for our listeners. Get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.com/lockedon. We're going to get into the details and the matchups that I think are really particularly interesting for a couple of teams the Chiefs might have to face. We're going to get to all that and more. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting at Rogue APC, as well as NFL 33 and RGR Football. And we have a lot coming for you this week.
We do have a lot coming for you this week, and it's going to be a little bit of a different week since the Chiefs don't play on Sunday. So we're going to actually get our old buddy Mark Schofield on Thursday's show to talk about Mahomes' season. So be sure you're listening for that one. He does a great job breaking down QB play, and I'm sure he's going to have a ton to talk about this week on Thursday's episode. I am Chris Clark from Chiefs Corner. You can find me over at Chiefs Corner, and we will be talking about a contract situation that was brought up to Ryan yesterday a little bit later in the show, but there is a little bit to talk about when we start talking about playoff seasons.
Yeah, man, much ado about sometimes nothing. The way that it was all coming down in Week 18 was this whole rigmarole about the fact that the Bills and the Bengals were not going to have a 17th game this season. They were still on the old school schedule after all this. I mean, cheers up. The Chiefs game was the first one that got to display everybody's salute to Damar Hamlin. Clearly, the Bengals took his progress and rallied behind it. I thought Sean McDermott did a great job in making sure that they were ready. It was a pretty good pushback from most of the New England Patriots that tried to push him around a little bit. I'm not sure Mac Jones was really on that the whole game, but there's a lot to it.
Pretty sure you meant Bills, not Bengals, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Something with a B. That's all I know. But in the end, it ends up exactly the way it was, is that the Chiefs, by virtue of the percentages, take the first. It is the Bills in second. It is the Bengals in third. Just the way that it was prior to
and
Week
the Jags
17.
in fourth.
True, good point. And so that's pretty much chalk. It does still leave open the thing that they did augment the rules this year. So if, given these seedings, if the progression is week by week by week, if the Bills and the Chiefs both progress to the AFC Championship game, they're going to play it at a neutral site. That is the only way it's played at a neutral site. If the Bills lose and the Chiefs go on to the AFC Championship, it will be an Arrowhead. So that's really, I think, the big culminating factor for the Chiefs is where they play that. But that's a couple rounds away. That's definitely getting through a divisional game that may be a little bit more interesting than we thought. So when you look at these matchups, do one of the first rounders, the wild card weekend matchups, stand out to you?
I wouldn't say it stands out to me. I will say I'm going to be very intrigued to see how Josh Allen comes back. And I apologize ahead of time. I still have a bad cough, so I will probably be muting myself a lot during this episode. Josh Allen did not play great on Sunday. The Bills won the game because of 2 kick return touchdowns. That is, Josh Allen got him down in the red zone, threw a pick in the red zone, and he has been doing that a lot lately. If he continues to do that, they may not make it back to the championship game. It may not matter where the neutral site would be.
Yeah, shout out to my old friend Chad, who in my one remaining important fantasy league, we had to bump over and take the Bengals. The Bengals and the Buffalo players. We had to take their scores from Week 18, even though our season is complete, in order to complete the championship round. And if Gabe Davis catches that bomb in the last thing, I win. If not, I ended up in second place. So cheers to Chad. There's a lot of going on that game. And, and if Josh had just settled down before that, maybe they would have been a little bit more on target. I don't know. But all that being said is these are not set in stone. The way that it is right now, the Bills will play the Dolphins. They've had back and forth a little bit. I'm impressed that the Dolphins made it in. I didn't expect that, honestly. I thought they were going to fizzle out. But given that they're in the same division and they've played each other multiple times, I think that's one of the teams that can give the Bills some trouble. Do you?
No.
No?
And only because I don't think Tua is going to be playing. I think he's probably done for the season. If Tua was playing, then maybe that's a little bit different. But I don't think that their backup quarterbacks are going to be able to step in and be effective. Tyreek Hill went out with injury as well on Sunday. I didn't see if he was able to make it back in the game.
I did not see that either. If I know Tyreek Hill, unless there's something seriously wrong, they're going to make a change and he will be in that ball game. But, you can never absolutely tell. Going to Buffalo is always interesting. You're going to be cold. It's going to be different. There's always that thing about Southern teams, Sunshine State teams playing up in Buffalo in the winter. We'll find out if that's true. I don't think Tyreek's ever been personally really affected by the cold, but we'll see what the rest of the roster does. That's going to be interesting. And our friends can help you if you happen to be in that situation. And Tommy John is a company that really helps you in the parts that are important to keep warm on a day like that. Winters, especially in Buffalo, can be brutal, especially this year. We've seen that. And so here's a tip for tackling that. Grab Tommy John's new loungewear. It's cozy. It helps keep you warm, and you're going to need it. And whether it's the loungewear, pajamas, or the underwear, they have dozens of comfort innovations. Luxurious tri-blend, which makes things nice and soft, micromodal fabrics, as well as a 4-way stretch. And that means that you keep the lint down to a minimum. Over 20 million pairs have been sold and thousands of 5-star reviews, so people really love Tommy John. That's why you want to check them out. And that's why they don't have customers. They have fanatics, especially if that's between you and the barren cold in Buffalo. I think you're going to like it. So get 20% off of your order at TommyJohns.com/locked-on. So we're all together on the Locked On. It's 20% off right now on all those loungewear, the pajamas, the underwear, all of it to keep you warm here as the postseason gets ready to start. That's 20% off right now at TommyJohn.com/locked-on. The other thing that you want to make sure that, especially this is real for not just players and coaches within the league, but fans as well. Dealing with the implications of everything that happened, I think it is absolutely important. And this is a friend. We're sponsored today by BetterHelp Online Therapy. You want to check them out because BetterHelp goes about things differently. It's not your old kind of self-help. It's not group therapy. It is online, professionally and licensed, done online, so it's convenient to you, and it helps you get through some of the things that you might be dealing with, even if it's just something that comes up as a fan, as a viewer of something that is life-threatening and that kind of thing. And again, cheers to Damar Hamlin and his recovery to this point. We're all pulling for him, making great progress there. And if you feel like that might be something you want to talk about, you can get with the world's largest therapy service with millions of people, professionally licensed therapists, all connected together. And you get a chance to try a therapist. If you don't like the vibe, if you don't necessarily feel good, you can always switch it over. It's all the benefits of in-person therapy, but it's more convenient, it's more accessible, and it's more affordable. There's no waiting rooms, there's no traffic, there's no endless search for the right therapist. You can switch them up at any time. It couldn't be simpler. So get unstuck. Get yourself the support that you need with BetterHelp. Learn more and save 10% on your first month at BetterHelp.com/locked-on. It's down there underneath Chris. That's BetterHelp.com/locked-on. Now, I think that there's some interesting matchups here still outside of just the Buffalo one. What would you say do you think you expect the closer contest to be? We just saw Baltimore and Cincinnati kind of go at it. Well, they're going again. There's no coin toss. So I think that is a big plus of this scenario. But they are going to play each other again in the wild card round, as are the Chargers and Jaguars. What's more intriguing to you?
Quite honestly, I think it has to be Baltimore and Cincinnati. And I will say I love Joe Mixon's CD celebration. So I just want to throw that out there. Nice prop use, and I'm sure there's going to be a big fine for that, but it is what it is.
It's worth it.
Definitely worth it to him. The only reason I say it's Bengals and Ravens is, one, they're divisional opponents. Two, not only their divisional opponents, but you're playing against Lamar Jackson more than likely, because I believe he will be back for the wild card round. So that makes that game more intriguing.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that does make that game more intriguing. I actually feel like the closer game might be Jaguars and Chargers. That's just my gut feeling. I can't take much away from what's happening now as we record this with the Chargers playing the Broncos because the Chargers know they had the fifth spot when they kicked off. It was a done deal. There's not much on the line for this one. So I don't think they're going all out. I think they might be able to save a little bit of something. I think the Jaguars are maybe the hottest team on a roll here into the postseason. I know the Bengals have been hot, but it looked iffy the last couple of games, clearly. And so if the Jaguars are on a roll and the Chargers are just kind of getting by, I think that might be a contest that leads to a back and forth a little bit more than, say, the Baltimore-Cincinnati game. Am I crazy?
Maybe a little bit. I just think that the Baltimore-Cincinnati game is going to be closer just because those teams are going to know each other very well. Chargers, or quite honestly, the Chargers should beat the Jaguars and it shouldn't be close. In my personal opinion, I think the Chargers are a better team. I think they should be the one that is moving on from that wild card round to the divisional round. And in that case, they would probably end up playing, I guess maybe they would play the Bills.
Lowest seed plays the top seed. If that is the case, if the Chargers are the lone wild card, they will play the Bills in the next round. That's for sure. Again, knowing that the Bills have to survive that as well. So I find it all very intriguing. And at the end of the day, I think a hard-fought contest for the Bengals against Cincinnati and what I still feel might be back and forth for the Chargers with Jacksonville, at least lends itself towards getting to the point that everybody's got to play hard. Everybody's got to put out their utmost. And that's the key for this for the Kansas City Chiefs is that you get that week off. I know people are up in arms about not having a home AFC championship game, if that's the way that it works out. And again, it is only the Bills that can force that to happen. I'm not concerned. I feel like the bye is way more important than the home field is for the AFC championship game. What do you think?
No, I agree with you. And I want to take something back. The Chargers would likely play the Chiefs. I don't see the Dolphins beating the Bills, which would be the lower seed that they could possibly be in. And then also you're in a situation where I don't probably figure the Ravens are going to beat the Bengals. So more than likely it would be the Chargers playing the Chiefs. So I apologize on my misspeak on that. And there you go. There's my cough. This is just going to be a fascinating playoffs because you have so many different storylines and the likely scenario of who is going to be trying to face off against Kansas City in the championship game, hopefully if they can get there, is going to be intriguing as well.
Yeah. And now on paper, obviously, the two matchups that the Chiefs fear the most are the Bills and the Bengals, as it should be. But that's why we're putting this asterisk on should the Chiefs get to that point. I feel pretty good that they have a very good chance to do that. We're trying not to put the cart before the horse, though. So don't read that as a lack of faith in the Kansas City Chiefs. It's just that this is playoffs. These are all teams that can raise their level of play as well.
Yeah, but I think one of the reasons I feel so much more confident saying that Kansas City can make the AFC Championship game is because of the way they played against the Raiders. And it's because they raised their play. They made it look like they were the better team. They finally took a team that they should have beaten bad and beat them bad. And quite honestly, I think I said this on yesterday's show on the the post-game show. I don't care about that last touchdown. That was a garbage time touchdown. Kansas City was just trying to get out of the game healthy and was just letting the Raiders move the ball.
Yeah. Hey, that's the way that it rolls sometimes. There's no way around it. But there's more to it. And we have to reap the rewards of what we have right now on the Kansas City Chiefs roster. And they get this little extra rest, which is critically important, especially for Frank Clark. He's one of the guys that we need to talk about and some cap implications that we can take a breath right now since the Chiefs are off and take a look at it. We're going to do that on the backside of this.
And I want to talk to you about our friends over at Ultimate GM. This is a game that I really enjoy playing, and I'm still playing. You need to check this out. I am really geeked out about it. Our new partner and sponsor of today's episode, the mobile game Ultimate Football GM. If you've ever dreamed of becoming an NFL GM and managing your football franchise, your dream can come true, and this game is definitely for you. Manage every strategic aspect of your team, play through the season, lead your team to glory. You're responsible for hiring the right coaches and coordinators, trading players, making draft picks, navigating your franchise through free agency and the draft, and all the ups and downs of a season. All this in a challenging and realistic game world. Ultimate Football GM is completely free and playable offline. Play on the go as you want and when you want to. one of the things that I liked about this game is you do get to pick the coordinators, you get to pick the style, and if you pick the right style by your coordinators and you get your players to play in that style, you get bonus points for that. That is something that I think Andy Reid takes a huge advantage of, getting the players that really fits his offense and putting them in the right positions to win. Locked On Chiefs listeners get 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On, all caps, in the game store. That's Locked On in all caps. So make sure to check it out today. To download the game, just visit ultimate-gm.com or look it up on the app stores. That's ultimate-gm.com. Ultimate Football GM. Start your dynasty. Start your dynasty today.
The dynasty's got to keep coming. Part of the problem of building a dynasty is that it takes cap space. It takes cap management. And that's always something that you are much more versed on than I am on any given topic. So we had an interesting couple of questions come up. One, it is about Frank Clark in particular, what savings might be available. He did have the groin injury. So we probably won't have a report until Monday afternoon, maybe Tuesday, on his status.
If we're lucky.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Maybe later, considering they don't play this week.
Right. I did listen to Joel Corey, though, and it does look, because of that, he likely did not make one of his major incentives. So I think that it's either a $500,000 or $1 million bonus that he did not make. So hopefully he comes back with a fury. That's what I'd be hoping for. But looking ahead to what has to happen in the offseason, win, lose, or draw, where is the status of what's going on with Clark's contract?
So Frank Clark is a free agent after 2022. The reason I say he's a free agent and it looks like he has another year with the Chiefs is because that number is a phantom. It is something he is not going to get. It is a void year. This was put in specifically to get his cap number down for 2022. He will not be in Kansas City in 2023 under this contract. It voids after the season is over.
So in terms of the number that's out there, what does that mean bottom line for cap space?
Right now, Kansas City is looking like they have so right now they're saying that they have $28 million in cap space, and that is with the cap being at around $230 million.
Okay.
So I think it's probably going to be closer to 225. I think from what I've heard. Maybe 230 million is accurate. We'll have to see. But that would mean Kansas City's going to have about 25 million cap space before you start talking about this Frank Clark issue. If you take Frank Clark off, their cap space goes to 57 million.
I like that number. That sounds way more appealing to me than the other.
Right? Now, there's going to be a lot of, to be clear, and this is something that will need to be discussed later in the offseason when we get how all this shakes out for the season. Juju has hit, I think, $3 or $4 million in escalations, in escalators. So that's going to go against this cap number that Kansas City has right now. There are a lot of different things that will go into this. Frank Clark is just a small piece of this puzzle. I can't imagine Kansas City is going to have a cap number of 29 million for Chris Jones next year. When you and I talked about it before the season, one of the thoughts I had was maybe he's just not going to be in Kansas City in 2023. The way he played in 2022, I do not think that's the case. I think that they're going to try to extend him probably in this offseason and try to get that cap number to a more manageable amount. He is still playing at a very high level. I did not see how the two other AFC edge rushers that were in the sack title for the AFC ended up today. I know Judon was at 15.5 to begin with. I did not see what was Garrett at to start.
Garrett was at 15 even. So
before today,
I will log in.
Okay, he got one.
Now. He did get one.
Okay, he get one.
So he leapfrogged
at least one.
Chris.
But for a defensive tackle to be number 2 in the AFC,
yeah, I'll take it. Right.
And there were some people that were in my mentions last night talking about the fact that he lost 2 sacks, 2 penalties that probably shouldn't have. The Matt Ryan penalty is a good example of that. And the other one is, don't forget the first time they played the Raiders, the Derek Carr fumble that never happened.
That's a very good point. Pittsburgh has played. Vegas obviously has played. So with Myles Garrett getting 16, he is now half a sack in front of Matt Judon and Chris Jones, who remain tied at second now. And it looks like, at least in the AFC, I don't think there's anybody else within striking distance that hasn't played. In the NFL overall, we still have Bosa, who is leading. And then there is Olicon, who I think ended up with – no, not Olicon. I'm sorry. It is Myles Garrett. Tied with Hassan Reddick in the NFC as well. So then Judon. And so Chris Jones ends up tied for fourth overall unless Parsons come through with a very, very big day. It would take 3 sacks to overtake him as of now. So I think it's fair to say it's a top 5 finish for Chris Jones. 15.5 is nothing to sneeze at.
Especially for a defensive tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played very well, and he came on strong. And I think – one of the things I know a lot of people are going to say it's Chris Jones pulling Karlaftis. I also think it's partially Karlaftis pulling Chris Jones a little bit. And I say that because I think that getting somebody that has the ability to rush the quarterback on the edge gives Chris the ability to do what he does best. So I don't think that it's all don't get me wrong, I don't think it's all Karlaftis that got Chris Jones there. And Chris Jones actually has come out and praised his defensive line coach and Joe Cullen to say he redefined his game this season. So I think there's obviously something there in that too. And, we could talk about cap space and how different things are going to end up this year. That obviously the 58 million or 57 million I was talking about earlier would be if they did not have if Ray Clark's gone, sorry, it's 47 million. I apologize. I think I said 50 earlier.
Yeah, I was excited about
possible. That. Yeah. Well, 47 is still pretty good. That doesn't have Orlando Brown on this team. That's also with Juan Thornhill gone, Juju Smith-Schuster gone. So I think some of those numbers are going to change a little bit. But that also has Marquez Valdes-Scantling gone or on the team. I think he could be gone based on the way he's played. So and that would take Kansas City to close to 55 million if they cut just 2 players in Clark and in MVS.
And all those statuses are because those are expiring contracts, or MVS is because he has a continued where they have to exercise something in order to get out of that contract. So that's just where it stands today. Obviously, they'll take stock after the Super Bowl, and then we will go from there. But that's just where it stands today. Shout out to Britton Northcutt for asking us and dealing with me being not prepared to answer the question fully. So thank you, Chris, for digging in and actually taking the time to sort it all out.
Yeah, I really enjoy the cap, and it's always going to be fun to be able to get into those conversations. But I'm hoping that we don't have any more substantive cap conversations until probably mid-February.
Yeah, let's keep it that way. Given that there's
unless we're talking an extension. I mean, I guess they could technically use this off week to extend Jones or some other player. I mean, if they do that, then I'm more than willing to talk about cap. But
crazier things
otherwise. Yeah. And all we need is for Ryan to say it won't happen, and then maybe it could.
Well, if I do say it won't happen, like I just said, then it definitely will. We all know how that works. So now that that's in, folks, hope that you enjoyed that. Get a little bit of the cap question out of the way and all these matchups. We're going to continue to break down this last ball game, what it says and what it takes our tendencies towards tomorrow. Matt will be back with us for Wednesday. Don't miss our friend returning to talk Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. What are you guys going to look at? I'm not sure what Patrick might have to offer you guys.
Yeah, real big question there. What has he done this season? Hard to know what we'll discuss.
Mark Schofield will be on the show on Thursday, and then we will be setting up the Wild Card Weekend games on Friday. Don't miss that show as well. And I do have a little announcement over on our RGR. We're going to be live streaming reaction to the Wild Card game, so you want to join us over there on YouTube as well.
Sounds like you're going to be busy next weekend.
Football season isn't over yet. Oh, wait, football season's never over because, yes, I'll be breaking down draft prospects. If you guys want to get in on some of that now, you can get an early look over at NFL33.com where our rankings are starting to come out. So thank you for spending your time with us. Check out Chiefs Corner for all the cap stuff. Check out NFL 33 for all the draft stuff. Hit RGR Football. Do it all because we'll be back here with you tomorrow for sure. But everything else is elsewhere. Thanks for spending your time, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.